Is that on? Oh, yeah. Okay, hi everybody. My name's Martyn Harvey. For those of you who don't know, I'm a children's author and illustrator, and I live in Neston. Used to live in Parkgate, and as a result of living there during the COVID pandemic and getting involved in several community projects, I decided to write and illustrate this book for children based in Parkgate. You can see there, Mostyn House. And it also strays as far as Liverpool. There's the Liver building as well. Okay, this is a great fun book, and it's been 2 years in the making. And this is why. You can see this is my working desktop copy. There's a bit of Liverpool docs there. Let's see what page we've got here. Oh, randomly, there's the Old Quay restaurant. Let's see what we come up with here. Oh, Mostyn House. So you get the idea. There's lots of local places. Hold on, let's see what I've got there. There we go. There's the Elephant Lounge and the Parade in Parkgate. So there's lots of local places included in here. And what some of you are starting to realise is there's actually some local people involved in here, included in here as well. Some are people that are quite well known around Parkgate, others not so well known. Some have made contributions or support in helping to get this book developed, and some of you I've just put in there for fun. Right, anyway, now this is the third in a little trilogy of videos which I've made showing the painting and the art, developing the artwork for 3 characters. Now, as I said, lots of local places. I don't want to go on too long because these videos turn out to be 40 minutes in length. But basically, I just want to show you one of the places that's involved. Oh, here we go. I should have got this prepared, shouldn't I? Oh, well, just in passing, there's Nichols' famous ice cream shop and the shop next to it. And I wonder if anyone recognises this chap in here. Yeah, let's see. Local people dotted around. Let me just find the Red Lion pub. That's what I was looking for. Okay. So what happens is there's a massive explosion of mushy peas, which someone's left the mushy pea machine running. It's a massive explosion, and here's the picture I'm working on today. There's lots of space in here for some extra characters, so I thought, who could we get to fill in these spaces? Not that I want to fill in the spaces just for the sake of it, but I want to add extra drama to the scene by having some more characters reacting in there. So I've got some spaces, so I thought, well, seeing as this is right outside the Red Lion, let's ask the Red Lion staff if they want to get involved. There I see a mountain of mushy peas cascading down the street, about to swamp everywhere. So I went along and had a chat with John, the landlord at the Red Lion, and he said, yes, we'd love to be involved, and he got 2 of the ladies, Di and Donna, from the staff to come out and take a few photos, which I'll just put up here. I put these in the other video, but you know, if you don't watch all the videos, here they are again. So we stopped the traffic for a couple of minutes and larked about, and these are the photos we took. And if you look at the other videos, you can see how I then took those photos and turned them into these little drawings, pieces of art, which are included in the book now. I'll show you that in a minute. There's Di expressing shock and horror as the mushy peas cascade down. And so after the first video, this is how the page looked. You can see now I've included John down here, standing behind Fishfinger Fred. He's another character I'm going to write a little book about soon. And then after I finished the artwork with Di, I popped her into the picture as well. And as you can see, it's starting to get quite dramatic now. I've darkened the background to bring out the lightness and the expressions in the characters in the foreground. So now we've got John here, well, Fishfinger Fred, John and Di there. Of course, Squiggly Pete, Lucy Lou and Little Jack. And today I'm going to be taking you through including Donna into the picture. Now this is the first sketch I took from that photo. There you go, side by side, so you can see the comparison. And what I do is I put the photo up on my computer screen here, and I'll just sit down and scribble away and try to catch the essence of that person, and obviously turn them into a cartoon character. Obviously, Donna hasn't got great googly eyes like this character, but all my characters do have googly eyes, like me. So what I'll be doing today is just taking this little drawing And the first stage, as I said in the other videos, is I photocopy it and increase the darkness, the density, so that I can put it on my little light board, which is down here on the desk, and trace it through. And so I make another drawing, but this time on watercolour paper, which is suitable for painting and inking on. So there's the photocopy ready to go. And if you follow me down to the light board over here, yeah, this way, I'll show you how we do that. Okay, so here's the the light box. It's called the light box because in the old days it was a big rectangular box with a couple of light bulbs inside it, and basically you turned it on and the light bulbs glowed, and then the light came through and you could trace, put your tracing paper on top of it. This is a modern version of it. It's actually it's just like a thin piece of perspex with LED lights built into it. Okay, these are the inks I'm using. There's Kandahar and also Winsor and Newton black Indian ink, and these inks are waterproof, which means that when you draw on your watercolour paper with them, and then you come along later and paint with your watercolours, the ink doesn't dissolve and run all over the place. So this is quite a useful way of developing my illustrations. I mean, every illustrator has different ways of doing things, and these days digital is very popular, but I don't do that. Okay, so I'm just showing you here how we set up the thing. In the first place, as I mentioned before, I do a pencil sketch, then I photocopy that, and the reason is that the pencil doesn't show through very well. So here we have a photocopy, and as you can see, you can just about see it through there. So what I generally have to do is turn the light box on, so there's light coming through, and I'll just nip off in a second and close the curtains to stop any outside light, because I'm doing this in the daytime, and it works better if you close the curtains. So there I am, just sellotaping the paper down, stop it moving around all over the place. Right, whoops, that pencil's going somewhere. There we go. So with the curtains shut, you can see straight away it's much easier to see through the paper. Okay, so let's start tracing. Now this is the third time I've made this drawing. Is it the third time? No, second time. First there was the original drawing, then the photocopy, and then I'm tracing it now again in pencil. And then what I'll do is I'll go over with ink. Oh, going quite fast there, Mark. No, I've speeded this up because otherwise it takes about 15 minutes. And it's a bit of a boring process to just watch someone tracing something that you've already seen. Anyway, so there we go. Whiz through it at super fast speed. Rotating the paper as necessary. Turning the light box on and off. And also my desk lamp on and off, just so that I can check what's actually visible, when you take away the photocopy underneath. We are just putting the finishing touches to it. Showing the creases in the t-shirt. And there we go, turning the light box on and off just to check. And yep, thumbs up, that means I'm happy with that. Okie dokie, so the next stage is inking. And no, this isn't scented sticks or whatever they're called. This is my ink. But I keep it in one of those bottles because it's very, very convenient. Very convenient. It's easier than dipping into a tiny little ink pot. And also it's quite a wide base, which means, idiots like me are less likely to knock it all over the place. Okie doke. And always have a tissue handy to mop up any drips. And off we go with the inking. Woo! Super fast again. So basically what I'm doing here is just inking over that pencil tracing that I've made. So now this is the third time actually drawing the same thing. I suppose in a way I could, and in fact I do sometimes skip that second pencil drawing. I just sort of ink straight through to the photocopy. But sometimes I want to get things a little bit more correct, or as close to the original as I want. And then after all that, then I go over it again with a rubber and rub out the pencil that I traced through in the first place. Oh, it's time consuming, and this is one of the reasons, as I said, this is one of the reasons why this book is taking a long time to do. If you're interested, I think once the book is out, I'm going to hire some space and put up a gallery exhibition for some time so that people can come along and see the drawings. in the paintings, and I think that will be quite an eye-opener, because you'll see the hundreds and hundreds of drawings and various levels of artwork that have gone into this. It's astonishing. Sometimes I look back on it myself and I think, my goodness, did I really sit there and do all that? Anyway, so here we go with the painting. Some nice clean fresh Neston Water, and as I pointed out there on the video, I start with all the flesh colours first. Sorry, it's just out of screen again. It's quite tricky because I have to set this up with a camera suspended over my desk and high enough, close enough so that it picks up the painting, so you can actually see what I'm doing, but not so close that I bump into it all the time. So it's a tricky sort of arrangement. I've got tripods here, there and everywhere just to get this simple shot. I'm going to have to work this out and get this a bit better, because obviously you'd like to see how I'm mixing the colours there. But basically I'm using light yellow ochre, which is one of my favourite watercolour paints, and that's why you can see, whereas all the other paints have a tiny, what's called half pan, the light yellow ochre's got a full pan of colour there. That's because I go through it so much. And one of the reasons is that it's a great colour to use for things like brass in a sword or something, or the yellowy mustardy leather in Squiggly Pete's coat. But also I use it as the basis of all the flesh tones. So I'll usually use lots of light yellow ochre and a tiny dab of red, and you mix those together and you get a sort of orangey, fleshy sort of colour. It's very, very useful. Here we go with the t-shirt in Payne's Grey. As I said, I love this colour too. It's not exactly dead flat grey. It's got little hints of blue in it, and possibly other colours as well. So when it bleeds, which means it sort of spreads in the water or mixes in with another colour, all these colours come out. It's like, we used to call it TLC, thin layer chromatography, when I was about 11, many, many years ago, in school science lessons. Anyway, right, I diverge. Now we're just mixing up some green to get the green of Donna's apron there. And if you look at my paint box, you can see I've sort of arranged the colours in a sort of rainbow sort of fashion, and this way of working is really useful for me. Different people are, you're free to arrange them whichever way you want, but this works really nicely with me, and I tend to have the flesh colour mixing palette down at the bottom left there, the Payne's Grey over towards the bottom right. That mess on the far right at the bottom is an acrylic paint, titanium white, which is useful if you want to mix up pinks. I'll go into that another time, but basically that's a sort of messy corner I reserve for that. My blues and greens are at the top right there, and bright green is usually, the mushy pea green is the second mixing palette thingy from the top left there. You can see sort of various bits of green and yellow in there, and in the very top left I reserve a little space for all the reds that I use, and this way it helps keep the paints clean. They don't sort of get too mixed up. So it looks a bit messy, but it's actually an organised mess, believe it or not. Right, so what am I doing now? Just going over, putting some finishing touches to the apron. I must admit, working with watercolours, I absolutely love the way that the colours bleed and mix together and flow in the water on the paper. It's a very satisfying medium to work with, but a lot of people are very put off because watercolours is one of the things you try to paint with at school in art lessons, or you get a free little watercolour set in some goodie bag or something, and the watercolours are always really, really terrible quality, and you always try and paint on the nearest paper that comes to hand, which is probably photocopier paper, and it's not designed for watercolours. So the paint sticks straight into it, and you can't change it, you can't move it around, it doesn't flow very nicely, and very often with the cheap watercolours and a bad brush and bad paper, you get a terrible result, and it puts people off and they think, I don't like painting. But if you use the really good stuff, you get good results. And I didn't realise this until many, many years later, and I had a fantastic art shop just around from where I used to live in Ramsgate, called Lovely's, and it's still there, and fantastic people. You can go in and just chat about art with them, and they'll take a brush out and some paints, and talk you through any sort of issues you've got with painting and help you out. Okay, so the next stage is to open the scanning software and scan the finished painting in. And there's the picture left over from the last time. So I'm just going to click preview. The scanner is warming up. There it is, whizzing away. And there we've got our picture. I always put a big piece of cardboard behind the watercolour painting just to press the picture down onto the glass of the scanner, and then put some heavy books on top to make sure there's no wrinkles in the paper. You don't get wrinkles in this paper anyway because it's quite thick, but that's just a habit I have. Okay, so I've got settings already set up on the scanner specifically for scanning my pictures to make sure the colours will come through as bright as they should be. Scanning at 300 dots per inch DPI, which is what commercial printers always require their graphics to be presented at that level, so that's how I do it. And we click scan. Now the scanner's going over it again, turning all the little blobs of paint into digital ones and zeros and what have you. And there's the other pictures that I've done recently. So this one's going to be Donna, whoops, space, red lion. And as I said in the other videos, I always give my files meaningful file names so that I can search for something. So for example, if I was looking at red lion stuff, I'd put in red lion and I'll come up with all three of these pictures. Okay, so the next thing to do is to open that with Photoshop. And then we basically cut it out digitally and copy and paste it into the main drawing. Okay, so there we go. Now, so there's our picture. Put this nice and big here. Okay, so what we'll do is zoom in a bit, and I love doing this in Photoshop. You can see all the detail, all the little brush strokes and the detail on the paper and so on. Fascinating. Okie doke. Right, so the first thing to do is to get my lasso tool, that's shortcut L. I'm not going to show you all the menus and things because this isn't really a Photoshop tutorial, but I might do that another time. And I've been using Photoshop for so many years that I use all the keyboard shortcuts without even thinking. Okay, so I'll cut that out and I'll copy that, Control C and then paste, Control V if you're interested, and there's Donna with a big piece of white paper behind. So then what I'll do is I'll take a dark, with my eyedrop tool, I'll take a dark colour such as that black or Payne's grey, create a rectangle behind this, drop it down to the layer behind, and then that allows me to cut out exactly what I want. So I basically want to cut away all this white paper, just leaving the design, just leaving the character there, and then I can drag and drop that into the main picture. Okay, so I've got this magic wand tool, yes, here I remembered, W, and if I click on the white, I've got my tolerance set to 15, which is what I work with normally, and that usually cuts it out quite nice and cleanly, takes out all the white space. Okay, so little areas like this, I don't really need that white there, so I'll just click on that, just zoom in and do that. This is where you can sort of mess about with the tolerance to get exactly the bits and pieces you want and you don't want. There's little bits of watercolour paint left over here, but I can, well, let's do that. If I go, I would have thought that would, oh yeah, there we are, sorry, add to the mask. Okay, so you can sort of mess around sort of refining all these, but the main thing I like to, I need to do is to make sure we haven't got any white spaces. Now this bit of white space on the arm here, which is highlight, which I want to keep, would be cut out if I went ahead and just used this tolerance as it is. So what I'll do is I'll get my lasso tool again and just, no, wrong way, take it away from the mask, from the selected area. Okay, and that bit there. And this bit there. You may ask me why I don't use the magic wand tool and just click on the white again. Whoops. But that would then deselect all the white in the picture again, so I'll be back to square one. Okie doke. Just zoom in again. Again, you can see what I'm doing here. It's quite time consuming sort of part of the process, but that's the way I've sort of chosen to work. I could, and I have thought about getting into using digital painting tools, but you know what, I prefer the watercolour. I prefer the old traditional watercolour. It gets me the result I want, and even though some of this sort of business is a bit painstaking, you'd probably find that if I did it digitally I'd spend just as much time, you know, doing the same sort of thing there anyway. So here we go. This bit here I want to keep. I should be using my little digital pen thingy. I'm actually doing this with a mouse, which is a bit painful, but never mind. There we go. Okay, a little bit there, see. I need these white spaces. I left them when I was painting, I left them there deliberately, so there's no point in losing them as part of the Photoshop process. Okay, so there we go. So now, having selected all the white paper, just click delete and it's gone. Simple as that. Now I'm going to save this as isol, short for isolated, 01A, and then I shall just quickly move on and save it as B. I have a numbering system, as I said, so that I can quickly go back and revert any changes if I need to reverse any changes. Okay, so one of the things I'll do is be cleaning up areas such as this, and I won't bore you with that. I'll just show you a little bit of what you have to do there. So for example, I'll take out the eraser tool and set it to 100%, and sort of go around erasing the bits and pieces that are scruffy like that. And again, that's another sort of time consuming thing that has to be done. And there are ways of doing this using the tools built into Photoshop to speed this process up. Sometimes the learning curve with those is so steep that you might just well do it the way you know, the easy way. Right, okay. So I'm going to skip ahead in a minute and take you to the next section, in which I've finished all that cleaning up, and then we'll be dragging Donna across and popping her into the picture. Okay, back in a minute. Okay, so here we are. We've got Photoshop open. I've got two files here. On the left I've got Donna, and on the right I've got the original file as we left it the other day when we put Di in and John into this corner over here. Now off screen I've gone and cleaned this file up quite a lot, so now we've got no rough edges. As you can see, it's all nice and tidy and ready to be dropped in and used in that main picture. Okay, so what we do, it's very easy. Just grab Donna here and drag over and drop into this page. There we go, simple. Okay, now as you can see, she's dropped into a layer behind Pete, so with the keyboard shortcut I'm just going to bring her right to the surface there, so in front of everyone else. Now, I had a little practice with this earlier, and I think I'm going to have to shuffle things around a bit. This corner over here, where I'd intended Donna to go, I'm just going to clone her, so it's a keyboard shortcut in Photoshop. Now I've got two. There's lots of things you could do, but I wanted something like this arrangement, which would sort of echo the original photograph a bit. But the problem is, of course, I've got this chap here, which is Fishfinger Fred, who's now a little bit obscured. And I've got to be careful because there's lots of arms going around, and I could obliterate John at the back there. But I like this effect of the three arms all pointing in the same direction. There's dramatic effect there, so I like that. So I think the conclusion I've come to is that I'm going to have to shift Fishfinger Fred around a bit. I'll just hide this one. We don't need $2 there. So what I'm going to do, and I'll skip to the end result in a minute, but basically unlock Peter, and I'm going to shrink him down. Oh, as you can see, I didn't paint his trousers in the first place, so they're now two separate bits of files there, so I'm just going to merge those together. Sometimes these files can be a bit of a patchwork, so I'm going to shrink him down to something like that, there, and with Lucy, oops, sorry, Photoshop gone mad here, with Lucy I'm going to unlock her, if I can find, is that Lucy? No. As you can see on the right hand side there, that's a list of all the layers, and there's lots there. So if I unlink that layer, now I should be able to, I think she's linked to her hand, which is a floating thing. Right, so I'm going to shrink Lucy down a bit, move her just over that way a little bit, there. And Jack, who's in the middle here. Now, one of the things you've got to be very aware of when designing double page spreads for books of any type is what they call in the printing world the gutter. And the gutter is this bit here. I've made it lighter, but I'll just make it darker. There, can you see down the middle of the page? That's an emulation of what the page would be like when it's folded. So you've got to avoid that area, because anything that's placed in the middle like that is going to literally disappear down the gutter. If you fold a piece of paper in half and hold it, pinch it together in the middle, you'll see what I mean. So basically, we have to be careful not to lose characters down that gutter. I don't mind losing a bit of an arm or something like that, that's fine. So I think what I'm going to do is shrink Jack down here, and then, and if you look closely, you can see I've actually got two versions of some characters, one of which is just like a shadow layer. So I've darkened the original picture to add some more dramatic shadows. It's basically to emphasise what I did in the watercolour, but obviously when you put it on a page like this, other lighting effects come into play. So there's Diane there, so I'm going to move her just over that way a bit. That's fine. And then John, same thing, he's got two layers. There we go. And I'm going to, I'll just merge those two layers together just for convenience. So now he's one layer, but I want to see John's face in there, so we'll move him there. And Donna, we can move out of the picture a little bit. Now Fishfinger Fred, let's free him up if I can find him. Where's Fishfinger Fred? There we are, yes. So I'll merge that into one layer just quickly. So Fishfinger Fred, let's take him out from the shadows. I've decided I'm going to put him over here on this side. Yes. Send him right to the back and bring him up through the layers again. There we go. Now, as you can see, there are lots and lots of layers in a Photoshop document, depending on how you work this. But so I found that's the solution there. We have a rat here, which I'm going to unlock. Oops. Which I'm going to bring right to the foreground as well. And as you can see, now I've moved Pete, so we've got a gap for some mushy peas here. So I think somewhere in there I've got some more peas floating around. Yeah, there we go. So I'm turning layers on and off because it's quite a complicated design, and we've lost some of Pete's trousers here, so I'm going to have to paint those and scan those in separately. Likewise Lucy's boots. So those are the little details which need to be doing. So as you can see, there's lots and lots of work in this, from the original inking and drawing of a character to the paintings and the backgrounds, scanning it all in, and you know, finally doing stuff with Photoshop like this. Right, so the other thing we've got to be aware of in a picture such as this is what, when you're getting it ready for the sending off to the printers, is what they call the bleed. And the bleed area is an area, there I've highlighted it, I've made it grey in my case. I'll turn it on and off just so you can see. That's off, that's on, that's off, that's on. And what it is, it's an area around the edge of a piece of paper. And if you imagine in the big sort of manufacturing factories where there's sort of cutting out thousands and thousands of pages on a big guillotine, sometimes a piece of paper might get a millimetre or two out, and you want to make sure that you don't have anything crucial that's important to the storyline in that area at the side there. So when you send things to printers, they always say you must leave at least 3 millimetres bleed around the edge of something. So I've got this bleed mask here in grey, which enables me to view the picture with and without that little bit of bleed there. Okay, so we've got, I quite like that position there, but of course Donna's now in front of that newspaper, so we're going to have to sync her back. So I'll show you here one way of doing it. You open up your list of layers, there's Donna there. I'll just title that so you can see that, and then I'm going to move Donna down through the layers. Yep, she's still in front of the newspaper. Let's go down further. Now she's behind the text of the newspaper, and I can see the newspaper redone there, and there we go. So can you see there's lots and lots of layers in Photoshop? So there we go. And having done that, having moved these people around, I'm really liking this layout now, because basically we've got lots of drama. We've got the peas cascading in from above. It's a mushy pea curse. We've got the word big there, and this is going to be the end of part 1. It's, as I said, it's a massive project. It's turned into a big book, so I've actually decided to cut it into 2 sections, and this is the end of part 1. It's like a cliffhanger. Oh no, we're in the middle of some monstrous mushy pea curse, dun dun dun, and you turn the next page and it says part 2. It gives the reader a little break. So everything in the story has been leading to this dramatic climax here. So I've got bats flying around, mushy peas cascading through the sky, this eerie glow of the mushy peas, and the Red Lion pub is, I've warped the perspective a bit to add dramatic effect there. It looks like it's towering down over you, and everyone's throwing their hands in the air and pointing up at the sky, going, "Oh no, what's the end of the world? 'Tis the end of the world," said Squiggly Pete. "And we've got a volcano," said Jack. Even Lucy, who rarely expressed such surprise, said that maybe the skies had a crack. I'll just read you the next bit. There were peas on the pavement, peas on the porch, on the patio, peas pelted down. There were peas in the gutters and peas in the street. There were peas in each part of the town. "I've a feeling," said Lucy, observing this scene, "things are getting quite rapidly worse." "You are right," muttered Pete. "We are definitely caught in some monstrous mushy pea curse. Dun dun dun." And that's where this page comes into play. You turn the page, there we are, curse. So we've got all the characters now, quite a dramatic page. I'm quite happy with that. So that's it, that's the end of part 1. So that's the end of this little sequence of videos. I think I might film a little outro in a second and give you some more details of how you too can get involved if you want. Right, thanks for watching this bit. Here's Martyn Harvey again. Okay, so thanks for watching that little bit of painting and Photoshop demonstration, and here's the finished picture. And when we pop it on a little bit of nice black mounting card, it'll look nice and tidy like that. Here's the original photo. Here's the artwork, and you've seen in the video, you know, how it turns out on this double page spread. So there you go. Okay folks, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. There's a button down here somewhere so that you can watch these videos as they come out and follow this journey. And also, if you want to get email updates and so on, sign up to my email newsletter. I'll put the web address across here. And keep watching, because I'm still looking for more extras. If you want to be in this book, you know what to do. Okay, thanks for watching.
My name is Squiggly Peter, and I loves my fish and chips. I love that salt and vinegar, what dribbles down me lips. And when I'm out there pirating, my pencil in my hand, I draw myself whatever I need or whatever comes to hand. Squiggly Pete, Squiggly Pete, Squiggly Pete, Squiggly Pete, Squiggly Pete, arr, the pirate.